Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Susi pesto trend and why I think it's really important. Before I get started though, I would love to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the month. And right now, while filming this, I have 47, so I just need 53 more. I would love that. I post a lot of social media management content, fun content ideas, and just really whatever that involves social media marketing. So make sure to subscribe. Okay, so the Susi pesto trend, I wanted to make a video about this back in back in October when it first started blowing up. But then I was like, by the time I film and post it, it's just gonna be like gone and past. Guess what? It's December and it's still going. Not as strong as it was. I think it's starting to die a little bit, but it's definitely very prevalent and I want to talk about it. If you don't know what the Susi pesto trend is, you're probably not on TikTok. It's people telling these insane stories, these insane true stories about their lives that are just crazy. So let's give a background about Susi. So Susi Vidal, I think is how you pronounce her name. She posts a lot of cooking videos, and how she got started is she was a student in nursing school, and during COVID she really discovered her passion of cooking. She loved how it made people feel, how it made people feel happy, and it was just fun for her. So she started to make videos. So yeah, nothing too crazy. She's been posting for a couple years now, but on September 1st, 2023, she posted a pesto video.
Call me crazy if you want, but I've never liked store-bought pesto. I don't know why. I think it's because it never has enough garlic or flavor. It's fine because I think it tastes better homemade anyways.
She said before in interviews that sometimes she'll say outlandish things just because her viewers think it's fun, and it just makes it more entertaining. So as you can see here, homemade pesto obviously objectively isn't that crazy, right? But that spurred a lot of interest in the fact that she said this is crazy. So for some reason, this video went viral and she got a ton of hate, just making fun of her for not wanting store-bought pesto. And so at that point, she just checked out. She didn't want to look at the hate comments. She didn't want to mess with anything. Never checked her video or anything, but it went viral. Eventually, somebody started a trend and people are saying it's this person.
Call me crazy if you want, but I've never liked store-bought pesto.
Oh my god, you're freaking crazy, girl.
I'm not really sure. But what it turned into is people tell these insane stories, and these videos went crazy viral. Okay, crazy viral. You would start scrolling and every single video would just be a Susi pesto stitch. Eventually Susi's sister told Susi, hey, you need to see what people are doing with your video. And Susi was a little bit confused because she thought it was just hate and stuff, but she started watching them and realized, whoa, people are actually using this for whatever reason to tell their crazy stories. So she even played along and made her own story, and it's still going to this day. And I found this really cool quote from her. She said, for some reason, this has become the modern day confessional. I think it's great, and I think it's so crazy that the most random thing can go viral, like pesto. But it's not really the pesto, and that's what I'm going to talk about. It's true that this has turned into some kind of confessional, but I think there's something a little bit deeper than just that. I'm going to talk about my perspective, why it was so incredibly fascinating to me, and something that I was looking for a very long time. So long before this trend, and I'm sure you have felt this too, I felt like there was a gap when scrolling on social media because there's so much short form content that is just empty and gives nothing at all. I would spend so much time scrolling and I couldn't remember what I watched. I had this craving for storytelling. Like, I just wanted to hear good stories. And so I would search on TikTok, I would search on YouTube for just stories. I just wanted to hear entertaining stories, but something that wasn't too long, but not too short. And something I could do while maybe getting ready or washing the dishes or doing some chores that I could just scroll, you know, listen for maybe a couple minutes and then keep scrolling. And then there's some more stories. But those are so hard to find. Really, the only ones I could find are the Reddit stories, which are fine. I don't know, like I just could tell there was a gap. And what's hard about that is there are channels and accounts where the person tells other people's stories because there's only so many stories that we have. So yeah, I don't know if you felt that too, but I really felt a huge gap in that. So when Susi first posted her video, There was so much hate. It was kind of ridiculous. I have no idea why it was so controversial because I think it might be because she said she hates store-bought pesto and so she's making her own. So I feel like people felt attacked because they did like store-bought pesto or because no one has actually had homemade pesto before. I don't know. They felt like she was looking down on them. Who knows? Even though I thought it wasn't that big of a deal and I didn't really get it, I did feel a little offended on how she worded the video, which is really interesting. It's worded very specifically where it's you kind of feel attacked for no reason. You know, call me crazy, but I've never liked store-bought pesto. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I still felt offended. I don't know why. I don't know why the wording made me feel that way, but it did. And obviously a whole lot of other people too. And I'm not sure I don't think Susi's gotten a ton of hate before. For some reason this video did. So I do remember that. And I do remember some stitches of people making fun of Susi for saying that. Again, it's kind of bizarre, but that's just how it is. Kept going on with my life, right? Didn't give it a second thought, probably forgot about it after I scrolled immediately after. Then a few weeks later, I saw this Susi stitch and it was someone who said, so she stitched it. So Susi started the stitch and she said, that reminds me of a time when, and then goes on and tells a story, this crazy story. And I remember thinking, whoa, that was so smart. Like, I did not see that coming when I saw the stitch. I thought it would just be like another hate video kind of thing, but she used it to tell a story. And I have no idea if she was the one who started it, because it was a couple weeks later, but I just remember, whoa, that is so smart. I should try doing that with like a random video. Little did I know it was a trend. So that was the first video I saw. And then a few days later, I started seeing more and more and more and more, and tons of these Susi stitch videos. These stories were so memorable and so entertaining because even after I scrolled, I remembered those stories. I'd remember them going throughout my day. And as you know, when you scroll, you don't remember the last video you saw. And it was really cool because it fulfilled that gap, and obviously for so many other people. As soon as I would see a Susi video, I would know that there would be a crazy video coming after. And so I could just set my phone down and I knew it'd be, you know, maybe 1 minute to 5 minutes long, this crazy cool story. And I could, you know, finish getting ready. I could be doing some chores, really whatever. I noticed in the comments people would even say, I never skip a Susi stitch, right? Because they know that there's a crazy story. And it was cool because every single one was so interesting. I don't think I ever came across a video that was like not interesting or that I regretted. There are definitely stories where it's like, well, that's kind of dark and sad. But yeah, telling stories is so powerful. There are different chemicals that the brain releases while telling a story. The biggest one is dopamine, and it's not just to the listener who's actually listening to the story, but it's the storyteller too. So when the storyteller is telling their story, they feel dopamine, they feel happy, they feel connected, and then the listener also feels that dopamine, happy, and connected to the listener. So it's like a connection thing, which is really fascinating to me anyways. So it's kind of like a drug, and people go crazy for stories. Now I'm gonna give some thoughts onto why I think this just went viral, crazy viral. A, people crave good stories and storytelling. Like, we crave it. We cannot get enough of it. That's why we have a huge multi-billion-dollar industry for movies. And then B, as soon as we see the Susi video pop up, we know that we have to stay till the end of this story because it's gonna be crazy. So we don't scroll, right? And if you don't scroll, the algorithm's like, oh, this person wants more of these videos, we're gonna push them out. Then it goes crazy viral. So then my question became, why do we love stories? And like I said, we have the chemicals release, but like, why? Throughout history, we've had storytelling from, you know, Shakespeare, the Romans, Aesop's fables, even caveman. And then I read this article where it said that when you hear or see a really compelling story, your brain participates in a phenomenon known as narrative transportation. And that's when a story engages so many of your senses that you can literally immerse yourself in it. You can actually feel what that person's feeling. You can see what that person's seeing. You can smell what that person's smelling. Like, That's insane. Like, you're literally transporting yourself into that person's shoes. There's two parts of your brain, according to this article, that are most engaged by stories, and it's the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala. The prefrontal cortex is responsible for cognition and understanding. As you follow the story, it goes into your short-term memory. But the amygdala is responsible for emotion and long-term memory. As the prefrontal cortex receives that information, the amygdala codes that information based on the emotion that you're feeling from the story, and then it puts it into your long-term memory. So you're both getting the short-term and the long-term, but the biggest part of that is just the emotions that you're actually feeling from those stories. That's insane. And both of those areas of your brain are essential for deep learning, and they're essential in the actual learning process. So we learn the best when we have stories. You probably already knew that, but I think that's so cool. And I found this quote: "We are as a species addicted to story. Even when the body goes to sleep, the mind stays up all night telling stories." Take that as you will. I would just love to learn more about this. I think storytelling is so fascinating to me, and why storytelling works, like why we have such a reaction to stories and why we need stories and why is our brain wired for that, you know? And I think personally, the reason I think stories are so powerful is because we need to connect with one another. And as a species, we are able to pass down knowledge. So I can literally I can literally transport knowledge from my brain to your brain just from a story. Like, if I have an experience that I went through that's, you know, super emotional and stuff, by me telling you that story, you have these same emotions as me. You see things the same way I do. So we're connected. It's like we experience the same thing. Isn't that crazy? So crazy. Obviously, you know, I can't feel someone's pain, but you can imagine it, you can connect with them, you can empathize with them. Teaching's so powerful when you use stories. And that's why, you know, in the Bible, right, even if you're not religious, there's a reason why Jesus told parables, because that helps people understand better. Same thing with Aesop's fables, right? Tell stories to give lessons. So I think it's about the connection. It's how we can communicate with another. It's also how we can manipulate one another and how we can get each other to do what we want. Also how we negotiate, it's how we grow, it's how we learn. Anyway, I think that's so fascinating. I don't know if you think that's as fascinating as I do. I would love to dive more into it, but this Susi stitch really opened like a lot of doors and a lot of questions in my mind that I want to research more and learn more about, but it also just emphasizes the importance of storytelling. And now we're gonna move over a little bit to marketing. So you have probably heard so much about, you know, marketing, storytelling. You need to tell a story. You need to be a great storyteller to be a great marketer. And it's true. And I think sometimes we don't really know what that means. Like, do I need to just tell a story and then someone buys? Like, not really. I think it's more of, again, that emotion that people feel, like that connection of, okay, let me translate or transport this emotion to you by these words. And I think our words are so powerful. If we're very careful and intentional about our words, that is how we will be able to influence and help people feel what we want them to feel. Sounds like manipulation, but it's true. Or feel the way we do about something. And I'm not gonna talk too much about this because I'm still learning and I don't feel like I have enough knowledge yet to really talk about it, as you can tell. But I would love to know your thoughts about that. So now I want to talk about what I think this trend's impact is going to be on TikTok for the future, in future content. Even though this trend is kind of dying off, but this shines a light on that gap. There's a huge gap in social media of stories and storytelling. I also think we'll be seeing a lot more stories, especially since TikTok is pushing the 10-minute video stuff. And I also think that's why podcasts are huge, just because people are telling stories on now. But yeah, I think there's a huge push for stories more than curated, perfect images or influencer vlogs kind of thing. I think people really crave like stories and deep stories that make them feel strongly about something. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, I understand why vlogging is a thing. It is a story, like it is a storyline, you know, whether it's boring or not. I mean, I love vlogs personally, not as much as I used to, but yeah, I'm really curious to see where it'll go. All in all, I think Storytelling is incredibly powerful, as we've seen from the Susi stitch. People are still posting tons of crazy stories. I definitely have learned a ton from it and want to share more stories and do more storytelling myself, and I'm still learning how to do that, and how to integrate that into marketing. And social media marketing is very, very powerful. So I'm excited to learn more about that and to, share what I learned with you guys. But let me know what you think. Do you have any favorite Susi stitch videos? Link them down. I would love to watch them. Did you like this trend? Did you see things similar to the way I did? Those are my thoughts, and kind of interesting. Make sure to like this video and talk to you next week. Bye.